Can you move to France without speaking French? Yes, I did it. I know I can think about maybe seven, at least seven people who've done it. It's totally possible, totally so possible. But there is kind of like a caveat. Like I think there is like some extra dot 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 to discuss, and I'm going to break it down in a couple of things. So let's start with the yes first, right? Can you move to France without speaking French? Like I said, I did it when I arrived. I knew kind of like just basic foundational French. I did French in high school, but it was like there was at least like a 15-year gap, maybe, between 15 is probably too much. There is like several years, like about 10 years gap between the French that I did, the basic French that I did, and when I moved to France. And starting from this yes of yes, you can move, it depends on like what kind of life you are expecting. So, can you survive without speaking French? Can you arrive with just a little basics to get you around and survive? Definitely yes. If it's everyday, because you learn and you can learn as you go along, right? So everyday things like going to the boulangerie, so like to the bakery or the supermarket, figuring things out in at the bank, renting your apartment, these sort of like daily everyday life, walking around, um, daily everyday life things are definitely possible with limited French. And if you have a job, so it depends on like if you're working for an international company, which there are so many international companies that are English first or bilingual. Fun fact, I've worked in both of these types of companies. So I worked in an English first company where the default language, like even though we are based in France, and a majority of the people, majority, but a good portion of the people that were based in France in that company were French. The default was if you're not sure what language the person speaks, default to English, and like everything was in English, but it was a French company. I've worked in this kind of like English first company before. I've worked in a traditional like French kind of like typical French company before where everything was just French. All of your conversations, all of the documents, everything was just 100% French. And only like a few people spoke English as well. And I worked there when my French was not so great. It was a little bit better than like intermediate, a little better than basic, but it wasn't like fluent at all. And currently now I'm working in a bilingual company where a lot is English, but also, especially since I work in HR, there is also a lot of French that happens that I need to navigate. I need to translate. I need to understand like French employment law, French labor law, French visa laws, things like this. And those are many times in French. And the team is also bilingual as well. So sometimes we'll start conversations in English and end up in French, or we switch, etc. So the company is quite like literally bilingual, even though, let's say, most of our like policies or things that are written, announcements are written in English, there tends to be almost all the time like a bilingual, like a French version, English and French all the time. So long story short is to say, I worked in these three different types of companies at varying levels of French. So right now I'm fluent in French, but um, I've done it at varied levels. And oh, what was I saying? Yes. So if you have a job and you can find a job without knowing French, right? So if you're working here, and especially if you're working in an international company, French is not needed. And for daily life, you don't need to have like strong knowledge of French. Basic French will be fine. That said, Surviving in France and thriving in France are two different things, and I think you need, and this is where the difference comes in and the nuance where you'll need a bit more French knowledge. Mm, and so that kind of like leads me into the second part a little bit of, do you need to speak French to move to France? It depends on the kind of life that you want to live here, that you expect to live here, and how much you're willing to work for it. For sure, surviving is totally possible, especially if you're in bigger cities like Paris or in Toulouse or Marseille, Nantes, even, I would say, and like Strasbourg. In these places, like the bigger cities, yes, you will for sure make it on basic French. And I actually I know two people who've been here for like almost for like over 20 years and they still only speak basic French. So it's possible, right? Um, I will though say that if you really want to thrive and if you really want to, the plan for your move to France is to immerse into in the culture and to really experience French life and French culture, then yes, you really do need to work hard on learning French. You don't have to do it like before you arrive, right? I think you can get here with your basic French, but you need to make it one of the goals or like the priority of like your first year or 2 years um, in France to make learning French one of the priorities if your goal is really to thrive and immerse yourself in French culture. Because really, like a whole different kind of like, I don't know, vibe, or you unlock like this new layer of France life, but like this new layer of like France and French culture and French life when you start understanding more and more French. And it was kind of like this for me. Like, so I went through kind of like the periods. If you discuss, kind of like think about my trajectory, I went through kind of like the periods of like the different levels, stages of understanding French, like super duper basic, like nothing. Oh my God. Like, oui, où est la boulangerie? Où est la banque? You know, like simple, where's the baker, where's the bank stuff. Je m'appelle, my name is Deidre. Um, Je travaille dans le ressources humaines. You know, I work in HR with visas, things like this. That basic level was, I mean, it was okay. And like, you can make it out. And you did a lot of gesticulation and, how to say, like hand movements and like kind of like signing, miming things when you're at this stage. But you'll be surprised at how resilient you can be and how much you're able to communicate even with basic French. And so I was able to have like a lot of fun. I went out to pubs, to restaurants. I've rented my apartment. And if you read my book, you will my travel memoir, you will see or you will know how much I went through to rent my apartment in with my basic French. But I rented my apartment in basic French. I opened my bank account, and opening your bank account in France is like, oh my God, catch 22 of a lifetime. But I did it. I was able to do my shopping. I was able to work because I started as an English teacher, so that made things a little bit easier. But I was able to work and communicate with my students who didn't really speak that much English, communicate with my colleagues, the other teachers, who not all the teachers speak English, right? Just basically kind of like the teachers in the English department and a few others, but like everybody else were French speakers. I was able to communicate with them with my basic French. So I just want to point out that it is totally possible for you to enjoy life and to survive and to function with basic French. That being said, kind of like the next level, intermediate French, kind of like unlocks. This is kind of like when you start thinking a little bit, well, maybe not thinking, but like dreaming a little bit in French, where you're just your dreams are like, you're like, uh, bah, what's going on? And this is kind of like super exciting. If you can see, like, I'm really excited. This is quite exciting when you start like unlocking this kind of like intermediate understanding and you get into deeper conversations and you start learning a little bit more and understanding a little bit more about like different phrases that you might hear and you start hearing like these kind of like colloquial things, slangs start making a bit more sense and you're able to like grasp jokes a little bit quicker. Of course, you can ask for a little bit more favors at the boulangerie or at the bank. I keep talking about boulangerie. I think I'm hungry and I need to go downstairs to my boulangerie to buy some bread. But we're just going to talk about the boulangerie right now all the time because I'm hungry. But yeah, when you have like intermediate level French, a new kind of like space unlocks and you're able to kind of like start picking up like different like nuances or commonalities or like different like repetitive actions or traditions or things that are phrases, things like this that you would kind of like miss when you were only at the basic level. And then you're able to like engage in like even a deeper way. And then when you get to the fluent level, like whole thing unlocks because now you're able to understand like politics even much more. You're able to start thinking in French. And I would say like between from the move from intermediate to fluent, it's kind of like when you see different parts of your personality come out because of the influence of how the language is structured. That's a thing. We might talk about it a little bit later. But that's like another thing that happens when you unlock and you arrive at like the fluent level. Of course, your relationships in French get a lot more deeper, and you're just really able to really understand, and you're able to kind of like see a lot of understand things that might have started out as culture shocks. And you're able to understand them a little bit better and kind of like, you know what, this is it's still outside of my culture but I understand it and it's no longer kind of like a culture shock. Like you're not like, why are they doing this, why are they saying this? It becomes kind of like, okay, this is kind of like not my thing, but hmm, I get it. Yeah, and then thinking in a whole different language. If you only speak one language right now, um, it's like an exciting feeling. But if you're like Jamaican, for example, like me, we already speak our dialect Patois or our Creole Patois and also a standard English. And so if you try, like you as a Jamaican right now, like try to separate Patois from English. Like try this as your next activity. Like say I'm only going to speak in standard English today for the next like 20 minutes or I'm only going to speak in patois for like the next 20 minutes. You will see like you're like and your brain starts shifting a little bit more. Um because you're bilingual in both Jamaican patois and standard English, then that kind of like gives you an experience of the switch a little bit when you become like fluent or the switch between speaking one language and then switching over to another. And so this part about becoming intermediate or more advanced in French is the part that unlocks the thriving in the country. Um, a lot of things still operate in French because, of course, we're in France. You'd be in France and this is the language that they speak. They are French. So, of course, a lot of things kind of like still function deeply in French. This is normal. and your English is still a guest in the country. So like you speaking English is still kind of like, yeah, it's a guest language. It's not the native language. And so I think just personally, no matter where you move abroad, it's just really always important to learn the language of the culture and the country that you're living in. It really, really unlocks like so many things internally, like your brain, you think differently because language, the way that language is structured impacts the way that I would say like the default, I was just going to say entre guillemets, quote unquote, default kind of like way we process information. And having like different languages really bring that out a little bit more. And so I think like it really unlocks different parts of you. Your personality, I think, kind of like shifts a little bit based on what one language emphasizes over the other. And then you, um, and then just like being able to really connect with the people so much more deeper and in a more enriching way. And so this is why I think like for my honest answer of can you move to France without speaking French, this is why I say it depends on what kind of life you're expecting to live. So if you're just on us, surviving, still having fun, able to navigate and move around, then for sure, right? And you're in like an international job where your French, the demand or the requirement for French is a lot lower, then you can go 5, 10, 15 years like this. If though you want to open up more opportunities, you want to thrive a little bit more, and you want to immerse culturally in France, then yes, you do need to speak French. Um, I think that's it. That's all I kind of like wanted to say. Oh, well, there's another part actually in that uh speaking French as it relates to kind of like the type of visas that you might need, sometimes it impacts it a little bit more than the other. So, for example, if you're one of your core requirements of moving to France is that you need a job, then you will need a work permit. And there are certain, well, it doesn't like require that you need to know French in order to get this visa, but the nature of the permit and the nature of the visa just makes more sense. So I would say in this case, there are a couple things for you to think about here. What else? Well, if you have like any other questions about like um why would I need to know French in order to move to France? Put them in the comments and I will respond. I read them all. But just in general, I would say you can do without French as the first time. Like, I don't think not knowing French should not be a deterrent on if you move to France or not. Like, it's not. Don't wait until you like arrive. Don't wait until you arrive. Don't wait until you're fluent to move. Remember this. Like, you don't need this. You just need, I would say, just basic French. So, like, A2 level is what they would call it, where you're able to, like, introduce yourself and ask a few general questions, where to find something, where to go, what to do, how to do something. Those kind of, like, and just general, like, politeness. Thank you, excuse me, no rejections, accepting things like this. Like, that's like, your starting level. Like it would be great if you're able to arrive at that level. Again, you can not need any of this. So like if you have a job, if you find a job in an international place that only needs English, then you can arrive just so and learn it as you go along. In fact, like I've hired because I work in HR and I deal with a lot of international mobility cases as part of my job. Excuse me, I've hired people who know like very limited French. Nothing at all, like bonjour, bonjour, like very little French because it was not needed for the role that we were hiring them for. And then they immediately immersed into French classes, which are actually you can get, for example, each town hall in France gives many town halls. Town halls? Yes, the mayor's office, the town hall have like social programs that give French classes and you're able to sign up. Many of them are free or like super duper affordable. Like I would say even like less than 100 euros for the entire year or something like this. Like it's very affordable French programs where you're able to immerse and just learn French. So it's not like it has to be like some super expensive um, project if to learn French when you're in France. So I just want to, like you don't need this. But again, if you really want to thrive and if you really want to get to a different level of like surviving, then yes. One thing that would be good is just to kind of like talk through the different like comfort levels. So at A2, you're kind of like with the basic and you're able to survive and make through life and things like this, right? And then at B1 level, you are a lot more comfortable with daily life. So you're able to like really navigate like the supermarkets, basic pharmacies, basic kind of like healthcare thing. Well, healthcare is a little bit tricky because even in English, I don't know like how to explain some things in healthcare. But like basic pharmacies, basic bank runs, you can have conversations, you can handle just general daily life. At the B1 level, you're able to do this. Yeah. And then when you start thriving, it's kind of like when you get to intermediate, which is, I would say, from B2 onwards, we're really able to like delve into like deeper topics. And B2 is the level that now, according to France's new rules that have changed, like if you really want residency, like the 10-year residency and or citizenship, then B2 is the level that you are required and you will need. So, but you're not going to arrive and get residency, the 10-year residency. Like that's a whole process. So I wouldn't really like worry about this part. But yes, this is a requirement currently now if you want residency or moving towards um like naturalizing. Life gets kind of like significantly easier here at the B2 level. And then afterwards, if you're like C1, you're kind of like officially fluent, you're really quite advanced, you have no problems navigating in French. So like those are kind of like the four levels, I would say. Anyways, I'm going to cut it now. I had lots of thoughts that popped up. It's a subject that I really, really care about, and I think it's a practical thing for you, um, for whether or not you need French or not. I think it's just like a really great topic, and I could spend hours talking about it and talking about like how I went through overcoming and learning French. I did some pretty unconventional things, and so if you're curious, drop me a question in the comments, and I will respond and or post a video. I would like to say as well, thanks so much to Nene who asked this question in one of my comments. That really prompted me to like respond because it was such an interesting question that I was like, yeah, this is actually a good topic to talk about, and I really felt like pushed to talk about it. So shout out to Nene. Thanks so much for the question. Anyways, bye guys. Ciao, ciao.